K&C Masterpiece back here on 105 through the Fan. Right now with us, we have Amari Cooper. How's it going, man?
Man, it's going well.
Awesome.
Going well.
So I don't want to waste any of your time. I want to cut right to the chase. Things people want to know. What does Amari Cooper think about the SEC expanding and adding new teams and maybe changing the conference landscape across college football?
To be honest, I haven't really been paying too much attention to that because, I'm in camp.
That makes sense.
But I think the little bit I do know about it, I think it's good for football. You get some teams who want to be in the SEC, which is the best conference in college football.
Sure.
and expanding that. But I think it's just good for the SEC.
See, I grew up an OU fan, and so I'm just imagining any conversation between you and CD is like, you guys aren't going to be – you're going to lose more games coming over here, right?
He know that.
Wow. And he's saying that means you know that too, Corey.
Absolutely, man.
But to be fair, as a Texas A&M, as somebody who attended Texas A&M, I'm used to losing several games during the football season, except for this last year. It was only one, of course, to Alabama, but we don't need to talk anymore about that. Can you give us any updates or any insight about when you feel like you'll be comfortable getting back out on the practice field?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be getting out there pretty soon within the next couple of weeks.
All right, that's nice. Now, if is that team mandate or is that Amari mandate? Do you have a if you could make your own choice on this, would you be out there right now today, or do you want a little more time?
No, I wouldn't be out there today.
Okay, all right.
But as far as the couple of weeks are concerned, it's just me talking and communicating with the trainers.
Okay.
Can you tell us more about the insight or what you see and what you learn watching the practices as opposed to obviously usually being in the practices?
Yeah, you get, obviously when you're watching practice as opposed to being in practice, it's like you have a different vantage point, and you have a different perspective. You see, details that you probably really wouldn't see when you're in the moment. So, yeah, I've just been trying to find ways to get better while not actually being on the field. So I'm looking at things from that perspective.
Amari Cooper joining us here on the K&C Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. I take you for granted as a number one receiver.
Oh, my God.
I want to be honest about this. I sometimes maybe have video game expectations of Amari Cooper, and I might put you in that category. I'm just kind of curious, from a guy who is a number one receiver, what do you expect out of your production each year? What are your lofty goals, or what do you want to accomplish each year?
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because that means you think highly of me.
I do.
And that's the way I want people to think of me. I'm my biggest critic. You know what I mean? So any goals or expectations somebody else, whether it's a family member or a fan, puts on me, trust me, my goals are higher than that. So when I fall short of your goals, I fall short of mine.
Everybody I talked to, I was doing some stuff with some NFC East guys, and they were like, look, just put him in for 1,000 yards every year. That's what he's going to get every single season. Don't worry about that. Do you ever look at it and go, okay, yeah, 1,000 yards is great, but I want 10 touchdowns? Do you look at it and say there's more that I can accomplish?
Yeah, always, man, always. My goals, if I told you my goals, they'll probably surprise you. So, my expectations exceed 1,000 yards every year. My goals exceed 1,000 yards every year. They exceed 10 touchdowns every year. So,
when you say that they might surprise us and exceed 1,000 yards, what are we talking about? 100 yards a game, 1,700 yards, 2,000 yards?
I would rather do it.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
And then come back and tell us about it later. And be like, see, okay, this is
I
close.
told y'all.
This is close to what I wanted to do, guys. All right, I got you.
Go ahead.
All right, I want you to do me a favor. Give me a scouting report on what you've seen from your other receivers, your teammates. Because I know everybody, I think that they take Michael Gallup for granted sometimes. And I think people are really high on what CeeDee Lamb is going to be. Give me a scouting report on what this trio does best whenever it's clicking and your quarterback's out there too.
I think with me, CD, and Michael, we all try to be as complete a wide receiver as we can. And our potential, the three of us, is through the roof. All three of us, we can all be. Like you hear us saying, we have 3 number 1 receivers. We can all be that guy. And we're all trying to be that guy for the team. We're trying to in any given situation, whether it's third down, whether it's overtime, 2-minute drill, we want to make Dak as comfortable as possible throwing each of us the ball. So.
Now, obviously, the media in general and then sports media has talked a lot about COVID, and without getting into like your specific vaccination thoughts, unless you want to tell us, is how much does that come up in the locker room? Like, is there a lot of COVID discussion, or is that something that the team itself doesn't really discuss a ton?
Nah, we don't really talk about it at all. We trust me, we during this time in camp, man, we have so much going on football-wise. We don't really have a lot of free time like that to, really be talking about anything. We'd be tired, man.
Yeah.
So we, we playing football, we meeting about football, or we sleeping or something.
Outside of, okay, and I was hoping you could give us some more details about that specific part. Can you walk us through like a typical player day or a typical Amari day outside of just practice?
Well, I'm not practicing right now.
Sure.
Yeah. But a typical player day would be, you wake up, you have meetings. If you kind of banged up, which a lot of players are, they might go to treatment before meetings. And you have meetings really all the way up until walkthrough. You have a walkthrough before practice. After that walkthrough, that's when you get dressed and, you stretch. You might get a lift in because you can lift before or after practice. And so after that walkthrough, you have like a 40-minute break or 30-minute break before practice. And that's when players stretch and lift. And then after that, obviously, we practice for 2 hours. After the practice, it's just a lot more meetings. You have a little break after that for lunch. Some players lift after practice. And then you have meetings all the way up until the time you go to sleep.
Nachos for lunch or like
whatever they have.
whatever they have available to you. All right, so I saw a picture, Amari, recently of you. It looked like you were in a mall, and it looked like you had a hoodie on in the summertime. And I'm not sure if this is real or not. It was you. I know that. Do you wear hoodies in the summertime? Is that okay? Because my co-host will wear long sleeves in the sun, and I think it's ridiculous, and he will not wear shorts. He refuses to.
I'm not going to let the weather dictate what I want to wear.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're from. I'm from Miami, so, it's guys wearing hoodies right now because you got to think it's always hot. It's always hot, so you're used to the heat. And, we grew up wearing hoodies in the summertime.
Okay, all right.
It's an okay thing, but, if you it depends on where you're from. I put it to you like that.
Okay, and then getting out here in California when it's 70 degrees all day long, it's very different from what it is in Texas, right?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I stayed in Cali. I was in when I was with the Raiders, so it's definitely different. Texas gets really hot in the summertime, man. That heat don't play.
But we maximize how to use air conditioning in Texas, right? Like that's one thing we've learned how to do. Build big stuff and put a lot of air conditioning in there.
Right.
What is your preferred air conditioning temperature? If it was all up to you and you didn't have to worry about the bill as much, like what? I mean, I guess it probably is all up to you and you don't have to worry about the bill. What would you prefer to set it at?
Man, I like it cold. I like it cold, man. Mine's be in the 60s.
I get it.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We got here and we're like, got to turn that thing down to like 65. We're not paying the bills.
Especially, in a hotel. I don't have to worry about it. All right, since you mentioned your time with the Raiders and then obviously growing up in Miami, do you have a strong preference for the Pacific versus the Atlantic Ocean?
No.
Okay. It was worth a shot, Corey.
Yeah,
he might have strong ocean opinions. You don't know.
I totally get it. Now, I always go back to one play that I think defines what Amari Cooper can strike fear into the soul of a cornerback. And that was against the Giants. I think it was Baker was a rookie at the time, and he was standing there and he just said, "Oh," and he fell over before you even moved. And you were like, "Whoa, hey, are you okay?" And that moment was I still think every cornerback lines up and goes, "Where is this guy going? I don't know." Do you like the idea that I can embarrass this guy in just a few minutes? Is that something that goes through your mind?
Yeah, it does. That's the whole goal for me when I'm in the game. Even before the game, man, I kind of take it as disrespect. Like if a guy, I don't know why, this is just me. Even though the guy obviously he's supposed to feel like he can guard me, but my goal is to get him by the end of the game to say there was nothing I can do. That's my goal every game, and I've done it a lot of times. I've seen it in their eyes. I've seen it in their post-game interviews, and that's just my goal every time because that's how I truly feel. I don't feel like anybody could guard me. So
Is there anybody on the list that they're probably overdue for that kind of performance?
I mean, sometimes you have, the extenuating circumstances, like, you might not get a lot of targets that game. You might be a little banged up that game. Some guys get lucky like that to where you play them a couple times, and every time you play them, it's either you might be banged up or you ain't getting the targets because, we're very successful in the run or, those extenuating circumstances. But when I get the targets, that's the mentality I have going up against any DB. So.
It feels like Jalen Ramsey was on that list for one. I think that's what.
Put words in his mouth.
I'm just suggesting
don't
a
put
name.
Words in his
he
mouth.
can agree or disagree. That's up to him. I was just suggesting something.
Okay, fair. So you said hopefully a couple weeks, or we'll see when you get back out on the practice field. Do you feel like it's necessary for you to get any preseason action in terms of a game or anything to be ready for the season? Or at this point in your career, you like, I feel like I can plug in for game one and be ready?
I mean, it's always necessary to get extra reps, whether it comes in preseason or practice. So if I can, like if I'm available for preseason reps, then I'll definitely take them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time,
Corey.
man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.